Corruption is a cancer. Those of you who watch Superman movies and comic books, it is like kryptonite to the functioning of democracy. It affronts the dignity of your people. Fighting corruption may not be easy. It's hard, but not a mystery. Transparency, disclosure, and the freedom to investigate abuses.
Hello, I am Olivier Berruyer, founder of the website l'écris.fr, one of the most important websites about geopolitics in France, covering international relations, economy and media criticism. For what has now been a few years, we have specialized in the analysis of proxy international conflicts between Russia and the United States. For example, neocon propaganda on matters of American foreign affairs, or the unstated Russian support to Donbas separatists in the east of Ukraine. After having thoroughly analyzed the 2014 Ukrainian revolution and its consequences in more than 400 articles, and considering the burning topicality in the United States, we have decided to carry out an independent investigation on the Ukrainegate, in particular to point out the issue of the quality of information on the other side of the Atlantic. As we just saw, Joe Biden regularly denounces the scourge of corruption, yet we're about to show you that his own attitude on the subject is quite suspicious. And we will demonstrate that he has lied several times, an attitude that threatens to become his own kryptonite. But let's begin with the first overview explaining the roots of this story. The Donald Trump impeachment story starts with a simple phone conversation. On the 25th of July 2019, the President of the United States calls a new Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky. During the conversation, Trump told his counterpart, "I would like you to do us a favor. There's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you can do with the Attorney General would be great." Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution, so if you can look into it, it sounds horrible to me. The discussion occurred at a moment when Joe Biden ranked favorite against Trump in the polls for the 2020 presidential elections. Donald Trump did not ask Zelensky for any compensation during that conversation, but some have noticed that 2 weeks earlier he had suspended $391 million in American military aid to Ukraine and believed that the move was actually intended to give him leverage.
When you have a new president of Ukraine who is hearing from the United States of America that his aid is being cut off, and that he has an outstanding request to do the president's political bidding, it is, of course, common sense that he, especially as a political novice, representing a country very dependent on the United States, would connect the two.
Trump answered by saying the suspension arose from fears that the money would not be used appropriately, considering the high levels of corruption in Ukraine.
Frankly, Ukraine, we want to help them. And I do like the new president. You know why I like him? Because he was honest. Because he said there was no pressure at all exerted on me, meaning him, by the President of the United States.
На мене ніхто не може тиснути, тому що я президент незалежної країни.
Ukraine is known before him for tremendous corruption. Tremendous. More than just about any country in the world. In fact, they're rated one of the most corrupt countries in the world.
Indeed, in 2017, Ernst & Young ranked Ukraine as the most corrupt country among all those it assessed.
And I don't like giving money to a country that's that corrupt. But I gave the money because Rob Portman and others called me and asked. But I don't like to be the sucker.
On the one hand, the Democrats criticized Trump for having exerted pressure on President Zelensky in order to harm Joe Biden's candidacy. But on the other hand, Trump blames Joe Biden for having exerted pressure on Ukraine for personal reasons in relation to this man. At the heart of the Ukrainegate is this man, Mykola Zlochevsky. This 53-year-old Ukrainian oligarch is a former engineer and became a hydrocarbon trader. He then created in 2002 a gas extraction company in Ukraine called Burisma. On 2 occasions, this industrialist has held senior positions in the Ukrainian government, leading gas licensing first from 2003 to 2005 and then from 2010 to 2012 as Minister of Natural Resources. As might be expected in one of the most corrupt countries in the world, he has benefited greatly from his position by granting licenses to Burisma without a call for tenders. Several people said they met with the oligarch minister to discuss his company's investments, sometimes even in his office in the department. Thus, at the end of his ministerial functions, Burisma had become the largest private gas producer in Ukraine. But then came the demonstrations of the winter of 2013-2014, initially peaceful and joyful, before turning into the Euromaidan revolution on the 20th of February 2014, which led to the president's flight. This brutal change of regime directly threatened the oligarchs linked to the former power, and in particular Mykola Zlochevsky. Close to the deposed president whose party he financed, this oligarch alone was a symbol of the corruption of the former regime. This could make him a target for the new government. Thus, barely a month after the revolution, the former minister was targeted by an investigation for money laundering, and a court decision froze his accounts in England. At that time, he was in danger of losing $23 million. Under attack from all sides, Zlochevsky's situation seemed desperate, but our billionaire oligarch has more than one trick and a dollar in his bag. And indeed, the solution was not so complicated.
Hunter Biden has been appointed head of legal affairs at Burisma Holdings, Ukraine's largest private gas producer. The U.S. Vice President's son will also join the company's board of directors, consulting on matters related to international expansion and policies surrounding the country's economy.
And I'm joined by Peter Schweitzer, president of the Government Accountability Institute, co-author of Secret Empires and host of a new investigative series called The Drill Down.
In the case of the Ukraine, Hunter Biden joins the board of Burisma, a troubled energy company in Ukraine, in the spring of 2014. It's important for people to know that he had no background in Ukraine. He had no background in energy policy. What I think he had was a father who was point person in the Obama administration on U.S. aid dollars flowing to Ukraine. Basically, we know from financial records that Hunter Biden was getting $83,000 a month from Burisma. The problem is that corruption is being globalized. And what that means is that foreign governments and foreign oligarchs are looking to recruit the family members of politicians because they believe by striking commercial bargains with them, helping politician families become rich, that they're going to get favorable treatment.
If your last name wasn't Biden, do you think you would have been asked to be on the board of Burisma?
I don't know. Probably not. I don't think that there's a lot of things that would have happened in my life that if my last name wasn't Biden.
Senior elected officials have to remove all conflicts between their business interest and their government responsibilities. Every other democracy in the world, that system pertains.
Or not, this is debatable. Well, after sharing the message of salvation in his sermon, Joe Biden reminded us of this.
As the Prime Minister and the President have heard me often say, I never tell another man or another nation or another woman what's in their interest.
Thus, Joe Biden claims to hold as his guiding principle to never interfere in another country's affairs. We'd very much like to believe him, but it's not true.
Ukraine has taken bold steps toward a new anti-corruption bureau and has passed legislation to reform the Prosecutor General's office. It has to be implemented now.
Joe Biden was particularly concerned with anything relating to the Ukraine's Prosecutor General's office, to the point where he directly targeted the institution, and in doing so, it triggered the ukrainegate. Simply put, the Prosecutor General office is the equivalent of our prosecution service, but with even greater jurisdiction. It is responsible with initiating legal actions and ensures the legality of investigations. It's headed by the Prosecutor General, who is nominated by the President for a period of 6 years. However, 5 prosecutors have succeeded one another since the 2014 revolution, and among them very few were renowned for their integrity. The first one filled the position temporarily. He immediately opened several criminal investigations against Mykola Zlochevsky on the basis of corruption and money embezzlement, but he only stayed in office for 4 months. The second Prosecutor General was Vitaly Yarema, appointed by President Petro Poroshenko after his election in June 2014. At the end of his nomination, Yarema seemed to be well-intentioned.
Корупція і інші негативні явища, які вразили не тільки прокуратуру, і всі правоохоронні органи. Хто зі мною, будь ласка, становимо строй і разом працюємо. Хто проти, будемо вирішувати питання і в установленому законом порядку прощатися.
However, Yarema's reputation was quickly tarnished by an international scandal in connection with Mykola Zlochevsky. At the time, US Ambassador to Ukraine, Geoffrey Payat, had even talked about it publicly in one of his speeches.
There is one glaring problem that threatens all of the good work. That obstacle is the failure of the institution of the Prosecutor General of Ukraine to successfully fight internal corruption. For example, in the case of former Ecology Minister Mykola Zlochevsky, UK authorities seized $23 million in illicit assets that belong to the Ukrainian people. Officials at the PGO's office were asked by the UK to send documents supporting the seizure. Instead, they sent letters to Zlochevsky's attorneys attesting that there was no case against him. And as a result, the money was freed by the UK court, and shortly thereafter, $23 million of the Ukrainian people's money moved to accounts in Cyprus.
Hence, Prosecutor Yarema's bureau drafted a document which allowed Zlochevsky to retrieve the 23 million seized by London. Should we simply see it as a mistake? In order to know, we dug up this 2015 news archive in which Deputy Prosecutor General Sakvarelidze, freshly appointed, revealed the following information.
По одному делу, например, по бывшему министру экологии, интересовались причиной, почему отсюда не были, значит, не отправлены качественные материалы по этому делу и сняли санкции. В Британии конкретно один из руководящих должностных лиц прокуратуры ему объявил, что у них подозрение, что якобы один из следователей взял взятку там, в сумме $7 миллионов. Ну, это, конечно же, стыдно. Это не должно быть. Такие люди не должны представлять лицо этого государства, нашего государства, и, конечно же, должны быть приняты конкретные меры.
Obviously, after such a scandal, Prosecutor General Yarema had no choice but to resign.
Хотів перш за все констатувати вже після вашого голосування, що тепер уже колишній генеральний прокурор Віталій Ярема написав, коли він написав заяву про відставку, ті, хто задіяний в корупційних оборудках, мають бути негайно притягнуті до відповідальності.
And that is how a new Prosecutor General eventually was chosen, Viktor Shokin, brought back from retirement for this occasion.
Я знаю Віктора Миколайовича вже, думаю, що більше 15 років, і його професійний досвід і добра репутація стали головними чинниками, які визначили мій вибір.
Here is how Shokin was portrayed in the press at the moment of his nomination, knowing that he was already well known after having spent his entire career in this institution. At that time, several experts interviewed by the BBC said that Viktor Shokin was professional and competent. He was said to be a high-level specialist, removed from political preferences. Shokin could boast success in high-profile criminal cases. He was said to be a particularly efficient Ukrainian prosecutor. Hence, it's not without reasons that he was called back into office. And in the end, his track record is not that bad. After his first year in office, the activity of Prosecutor Shokin's bureau was assessed. As you can see, Shokin appears to be 2 or 3 times as efficient as his predecessors, whether it be in terms of the amount of money recovered, of the number of criminal investigations initiated, or of the number of anti-corruption actions launched against public servants. Similarly, in 2015, the press reported numerous anti-corruption procedures launched by the Prosecutor's Bureau. But Shokin's crown achievement is the creation of an anti-corruption prosecutor bureau as an independent entity. Viktor Shokin also managed to catch a member of parliament engaging in an act of corruption. He then broadcasted the hidden camera footage to the whole parliament, including the incriminated MP. Take a look.
Генеральною прокуратурою України розслідується кримінальне провадження за фактами вчинення тяжких та особливо тяжких злочинів одним із народних депутатів України. Прошу дуже уважно подивитися оцей фрагмент. Прошу фрагмент включити.
По карьеру. Я тобі розказую. Значить, ну, мінімум 100 тисяч гривень нести треба. Мінімум. Для отримання ліцензії.
Чудово.
Я тобі допомогу по кар'єрі. Я тебе прикрию, навіть якщо ти почнеш видобуток, но паралельно будеш робити документи. Прикрию і з міліції, і з СБУ, і все. Тут прокуратуру не прикриє поки. Оставався в ямку і з прокуратурою прикрив.
Як балакали, що там? Коротше. Ну, це все, що, я кажу, все, що насаджу, то непосильним трудом, да. Ну, чесно, ну, переїхав, хотів, щоб повисити реально.
Я сказав, що зроблю завтра, буквально вже буде все забере.
Наочно бачили самі, як формує своє майно, грошові кошти радикальна партія, котра йде на вибори. Їм грошей не вистачає.
A few minutes later, a vote from the MPs deprived Mosiciuk of his parliamentary immunity. He was then arrested after Shokin's inquiry. But this colorful radical MP got out of jail very quickly, because the parliament had not respected the official procedure for the removal of his immunity. Why is Mosiciuk still free? There were two problems. First, I was expecting, according to the procedure, that the MPs examine my proposition and then let Mosiciuk talk. But this is not how things went down. The proposition was immediately put to a vote. It surprised me. I don't know who decided of this hastiness or why, but it resulted in the invalidation of the procedure. And then, for a reason that I'm not aware of, Lutsenko gave up on the prosecution. There were still bribes, though, in addition to the ones I had identified in the parliament. There should have been more valuations, more confrontations, but for a reason I don't know, Lutsenko decided otherwise. What were his motivations, I don't know. However, fighting corruption is no easy job, in Ukraine as elsewhere. It can even turn into a high-risk occupation, as Shokin indicated several times by mentioning his own security.
Я став на шлях і стояв, і буду стояти на боротьбі з корупцією на всіх напрямках, без виключення. Я заважаю багатьом видобувати незаконно бурштин, пісок. Заважаю іншим незаконним оборудкам. Я маю обґрунтовані підстави вважати, що мене хочуть знищити фізично. На жаль, це так.
On the 15th of October 2015, Shokin also stated the following. Not long ago, I've warned against a potential attempt on my life. I've said this after we had discovered an unloaded revolver hidden in our offices. It was thus decided to strengthen my security. Armored vehicle, fluctuating itineraries, and I stay in different apartments. Alas, the succession of events since then has proved that his fears were legitimate.
Вчера около 10 вечера во время служебного совещания Виктор Шокин и сотрудники, что сидели за столом, попали под обстрел снайпера.
Шокирующая весть о покушении на генерального прокурора Украины Виктора Шокина наделала немало шума во властных кабинетах. Ведь повод серьезный. Впервые в истории независимой Украины произошла попытка убийства чиновника высочайшего уровня. Дерзость заказчиков и исполнителей впечатляет. Стреляли в Шокина прямо во время совещания с прокурорами в его кабинете.
Генеральный прокурор это оценивает как месседж в его сторону о том, что мы можем.
В то же время покушение не то чтобы стало для украинцев неожиданностью, ведь ему предшествовал целый ряд этаких сигналов. В частности, еще в июле Шокин шокировал неожиданным заявлением. Говорил, его жизнь под угрозой.
Luckily, Shokin managed to escape unharmed. He later indicated that it was probably a warning. But in the end, his biggest problems did not come from Ukraine.
Hey folks, Joe Biden. I just got off a 8-9 hour flight from Washington to the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv.
It is because Joe Biden was a long-time member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee that President Obama trusted him with the Ukrainian case. He then very closely followed the topic and visited Kyiv numerous times, notably in 2015, when he gave a speech to the parliament.
It's not enough to set up a new anti-corruption bureau and establish a special prosecutor fighting corruption. The Office of the General Prosecutor desperately needs reform.
We can clearly see that Joe Biden totally interferes with Ukraine's domestic affairs, and that he targets precisely the Prosecutor General's office. The press also reported that behind the scenes, Joe Biden had demanded the departure of prosecutor Shokin as a condition of American financial support. Yet, Biden is always keen on declaring he does not want to interfere in foreign countries' affairs.
As the Prime Minister and the President have heard me often say, I never tell another man or another nation or another woman what's in their interest.
What a beautiful statement. The problem is that it's a lie, and Biden doesn't even try to hide it.
I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
So Joe Biden has directly interfered with Ukraine's domestic affairs by using blackmail methods. And this fact was indeed confirmed by his own advisor.
The sense was, not only in the U.S. government, but in the EU and the IMF, that Shokin had become kind of a single point of failure. Fast forward to December, Vice President Biden is traveling to Kyiv. So we're flying over to Kyiv, and we're talking about the speech, and we're talking about the loan guarantee, and the Vice President is getting briefed by his advisors, but also by Assistant Secretary Nuland, and then when we land, by Ambassador Pyatt. And the Vice President basically says, look, I'm just going to tell Poroshenko that you're not getting the money unless you fire Shokin. And the reason why the Vice President decided to make it that stark was that he believed we were never going to have the kind of leverage we had right now.
At the same time, I must point out that with a president like Barack Obama, Joe Biden was really well-schooled.
We occasionally have to twist the arms of countries that wouldn't do what we need them to do if it weren't for the various economic or diplomatic or in some cases military leverage that we had.
Therefore, Joe Biden is blatantly lying when he asserts this.
I'm very concerned about foreign interference, beyond me.
For several weeks, Shokin first has refused to resign, before Biden's pressure grew stronger, and President Poroshenko finally gave in.
Я звернувся до Віктора Миколайовича Шокіна з пропозицією, щоб він написав заяву про відставку. Віктор Шокін впровадив ті реформи, яким в ГПУ чинили спротив десятиліттями. Позбавлення прокуратури загального нагляду, створення Національного антикорупційного бюро і Державного бюро розслідувань тощо. Це з одного боку. А з іншого, Генеральна прокуратура України, на жаль, не змогла заручитися довірою суспільства.
In the first instance, Ukrainian MPs rejected Shokin's resignation. But a second vote then took place, and this time his resignation was accepted. A new prosecutor general was thereafter nominated, and if we believe Joe Biden...
And they put in place someone who was solid.
Someone solid to take over from Shokin? But who is he talking of?
2 місяці пройшло з тих пір, який був відправлений у відставку Віктор Миколайович Шокін. І ми не маємо можливості далі чекати. Подаю кандидатуру генерального прокурора, і цим генеральним прокурором буде Юрій Віталійович Луценко. Він за свої переконання пішов на ешафот. Він не зрадив своїм переконанням в'язниці.
Sorry?
Він не зрадив своїм переконанням в'язниці.
Indeed, Yuri Lutsenko was convicted in 2010 and sentenced to 4 years in jail for embezzlement and abuse of authority before being pardoned in 2013. Former Member of Parliament Alexander Onischenko reminded us of the reasons for his imprisonment.
But Lutsenko was in jail.
Lutsenko, yes, yeah, because that's why he was minister when he did a lot of stupid things, and he he stole something from the budget of the Ministry of Interior, and then that's why he was in jail after. Yeah.
To get a clearer picture, we asked the new Ukrainian MP Rinat Kuzmin, who was Deputy Prosecutor General between 2006 and 2014, and he therefore headed the legal proceedings against Lutsenko.
Занималось управление, которым я руководил, Следственное управление Генеральной прокуратуры. Это дело о коррупции министра внутренних дел, который был осужден украинским судом за коррупцию. Суть обвинений к Луценко в следующем. Луценко, будучи министром внутренних дел Украины, незаконно назначил своего личного водителя на работу в разведку. При этом, как было установлено следствием, водитель разведчиком не работал, а продолжал возить министра на служебном автомобиле. Кроме того, Луценко умышленно нарушил постановление правительства Украины, запрещавшее использовать государственные бюджетные средства на оплату различных увеселительных мероприятий, праздников и прочее. Кроме того, Луценко, будучи министром внутренних дел, разрешил проведение оперативно-технических мероприятий, а именно снятие информации с канала связи, прослушивание телефонных переговоров, использование других оперативных средств в отношении лица, не совершавшего никаких преступлений. После прихода к власти президента Порошенко Луценко был назначен генеральным прокурором Украины. Впервые за всю историю ее существования был назначен генеральным прокурором человек, мало того, что осужденный и отбывавший наказание в колонии за коррупцию. В Украине был назначен генеральным прокурором человек, не имевший вообще юридического образования. Как отреагировала юридическая общественность на такое назначение, несложно себе представить. Всем стало понятно, что начало краха правовой системы начнется как раз с этого назначения генерального прокурора Украины.
This is the man chosen to replace Shokin? Joe Biden was very clear, though.
Corruption can have no place in the new Ukraine.
Here's a comparison of Shokin's and Lutsenko's career paths. While Viktor Shokin has a solid legal education and a long career as an investigator, prosecutor, and then deputy prosecutor general, Yuri Lutsenko is an electronic engineer who became a ministerial scientific advisor, then Minister of the Interior thanks to his activism during the Orange Revolution of 2004, before being imprisoned for acts of corruption. Hence, it was necessary to amend Ukrainian law so that corrupt Lutsenko could be nominated Prosecutor General without having any legal background nor experience. His inaugural speech to the parliament was very well-meaning, though.
Мені дуже неприємно, що через мене було внесено поправку в діючий закон про прокуратуру. Я безумовно вважаю, що це не зовсім правильна практика, і ніколи б на це не пішов, якби зміг знайти людину, в яку повірив би президент, парламенту, суспільства, що він може зламати нинішню неефективну, а часто злочинну систему і має більше бажання це зробити, ніж я.
But then, what were the results of this odd prosecutor general? On the 7th of July 2016, Lutsenko held a press conference in order to reveal a scheme through which Burisma managed to evade taxes.
Почалася операція по виявленню ще одного схеми розкрадання газу. Директор буде відповідати за свої вчинки. Схема складалася з того, що компанії «Еско Північ», яку заснувала Бурісма, через ряд фіктивних підприємств виводила свої прибутки у фіктивні витрати, чим уникала від сплати податку на прибуток. Ще раз повторюся, загальна сума несплати – $1 мільярд гривень за 2 останніх роки.
Yes, you heard right. Burisma was charged with tax fraud for an estimated amount of $40 million. Yet, how much money did Lutsenko ask for this tax adjustment?
Стосовно Злочевського, я абсолютно спокійно дивлюся в очі вам і суспільству. Експертиза нарахувала 160 мільйонів гривень податків. Всі 160 мільйонів гривень через тиждень після виходу експертизи були сплачені в бюджет.
Excuse me? $40 million were embezzled and only $7 million to be paid to close the case? Okay, Lutsenko was clueless when it came to the law, but him being an engineer, we could have expected him to at least be more competent with numbers. Therefore, a simple question arises. But how do Ukrainian anti-corruption associations judge Lutsenko's records on Burisma and Zlochevsky? Let's listen to the testimony of Anastasia Krasnosilskaya, expert at the Anti-Corruption Action Center.
As for economic crimes of Yanukovych, the ones that are connected with allegedly embezzlement of public funds, none of these cases has been submitted to the court. Not even one. Well, basically what we see is that Prosecutor's General Office is not investigating these cases in a due way. Well, there have been a criminal case against Zlochevsky about allegedly illicit enrichment. However, Prosecutor's General Office changed legal qualification of this case for a tax crime for which not even Zlochevsky, but a legal entity connected to him paid a small amount of money, and the case has been closed, with no opportunity to bring Zlochevsky personally to legal liability for illicit enrichment, with no opportunity to recover $23 million.
And here is what Daria Kaleniuk has to say. She's the director of the Anti-Corruption Action Center in Ukraine.
Проблема в тому, що це провадження, яке порушили в Великобританії, не розслідувалося нормально, професійно, незалежно українською прокуратурою. Воно зливалося дуже системно, професійно, з урахуванням різних, напевно, що політичних переговорів. Очевидний факт, що прокуратура злила справу проти Злочевського. Очевидний факт, що прокуратура злила справу проти Бурізми. Очевидний факт, що прокуратура не дослідила до кінця, як Злочевський видавав сам собі ліцензії.
But then, what does Lutsenko think of his own track record on Burisma?
Company Burisma is a great company with 3 main cases. So the first case about non-paying taxes, we have finished this case. They have paid money, and according to Ukrainian law, maybe it is crazy for you or for American, but according to Ukrainian law, when they have paid money, they are free. The case was closed. I am sure that it was legal and successful for Ukrainian budget.
So, the definition of a success for Yuri Lutsenko is this.
Ще раз повторюся, загальна сума несплати – $1 мільярд гривень.
Експертиза нарахувала 160 мільйонів гривень податків.
A great success!
The integrity of Yuri Lutsenko thus raises serious questions, and it is not surprising to hear the words of the Ukrainian finance minister who said this in 2017.
Державним банком «Приватбанк» було ініційовано порушення 5 кримінальних справ, що наразі розслідується Генеральною прокуратурою України. Однак, жодна з цих справ на сьогоднішній день не була передана на розгляд судів, оскільки досудові розслідування у даних провадженнях просуваються вкрай повільно, а в деяких справах слідчі дії взагалі не ведуться. Я вимагаю відставки Генерального прокурора Юрія Луценка.
It should also be noted that Prosecutor Lutsenko is mentioned in the report of the whistleblower who exposed ukrainegate. This CIA officer states that Lutsenko was widely criticized in Ukraine for protecting corrupt Ukrainian leaders. Also, the Anti-Corruption Action Center is making a catastrophic assessment of Prosecutor Lutsenko's action.
What are his major successes?
Well, unfortunately, we do not see any major successes of Prosecutor General Mr. Lutsenko.
What about minor successes?
Neither we see his minor successes, because if we try to remember his promises that he made when he was appointed as Prosecutor General and compare them to what has actually been done, we see that nothing has been done.
It should also be noted that the lack of professional integrity is not the only problem with Lutsenko. His personal life has also been the subject of several scandals.
А вы знаете, что вот когда мы начали изучать игорный бизнес сегодняшний, нелегальный, кто бенефициары основные в этом бизнесе? Юрий Луценко, акционер сети подпольных казино.
Державне бюро розслідувань зареєструвало кримінальне провадження проти екс-генпрокурора Юрія Луценка. Справу порушено начебто через зловживання службовим становищем шляхом сприяння незаконному гральному бізнесу.
Щонайменше 50 тисяч євро вартував тижневий відпочинок родини генерального прокурора Юрія Луценка на Сейшельських островах на початку січня. Він разом з родиною зупинився на 8 ночей в одному з найдорожчих готелів Сейшел.
І виклав у соцмережу довідку про те, яким є рівень його зарплатні. Його родина сукупно витратила на тижневу відпустку на Сейшелах більше 50 тисяч євро.
При цьому я вважаю, що відпочинок не був жодною надмірністю, вкладається в те, що собі дозволяє середній клас.
Let's mention that a few months after this story, the European Court of Human Rights has ordered Yuri Lutsenko to stop trying to gain access to journalist Natalia Zetlecka's sources. Generally speaking, Yuri Lutsenko's estate and standards of living raise many questions. Let's mention, for example, that his wife and himself live in a 9,246 square feet house. Another oddity: the couple's reported financial assets have experienced a surprising growth over the last few years. This stems from Mrs. Lutsenko's particularity, who has for the last 4 years owned from $260,000 to $300,000 in cash. In cash! Let's specify that Irina Lutsenko also is a member of parliament and that her financial estate has considerably increased in 2014. In April 2017, while her husband was Prosecutor General, she was designated by President Poroshenko as our official representative in parliament. Still, Mrs. Lutsenko's estate looks pale when compared to the $61 million resting on the oligarch president's bank account.
Президент України Петро Порошенко є гарантом нульової толерантності до корупції.
Yuri Lutsenko's dishonesty quickly became a shared certainty. One example is a testimony before the Congress from American diplomat Kurt Volker, according to whom Lutsenko does not deserve a gram of trust. But it was mainly anti-corruption associations that largely denounced this unworthy prosecutor. All this explains why in May 2019, 20 Ukrainian NGOs, including Transparency International Ukraine, called for personal sanctions against Yuri Lutsenko under the Global Magnitsky Act. The facts against him are serious, ranging from a lack of commitment in the investigations on attacks against anti-corruption activists to obstruction of justice and pure corruption. But to date, the United States has not yet put in place sanctions against Lutsenko. The most surprising thing about all this is that, Ukraine not being completely dysfunctional, justice has not remained inactive against Yuri Lutsenko. It should also be noted that several investigations were opened against Yuri Lutsenko when he was Prosecutor General on suspicions of abuse of power and corruption, and since his departure last summer, the accusations have accelerated. Criminal investigations into him? For Prosecutor Lutsenko, all this is perfectly normal.
Якщо не помиляюся, вже 5 чи 6, може більше, кримінальних проваджень, які має стосунок до мене. Ненормальним, звичайно, є ажіотаж навколо цього.
When former Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili came up to help Ukraine in its fight against corruption as governor of the region of Odessa, he did not mince his words about Prosecutor Lutsenko's behavior.
Луценко был бизнесменом. За 3 месяца до того, как он ушел в отставку, он продал свои акции табачной индустрии Украины за $70 миллионов, что вы понимаете. Это был барыга классический, он называл себя генеральным прокурором. Но, например, есть история, значит, есть парк такой, парк Горького у нас в Одессе. И там супружеская пара там Качановых, они там у них, они арендуют часть парка, они обратились к брату Луценко, потому что Луценко был генеральным прокурором. Что этот брат сделал? Он говорит, я передам все генеральному прокурору, он вам все сделает. После этого этот брат заявляет и говорит, дайте мне 50% вашего бизнеса.
Yuri Lutsenko is a filthy creature who used to close corruption cases for dough. I consider that if he doesn't end up rotting in jail, it will be a very alarming signal. With hindsight, it is quite tasty to listen again to the statements of Lutsenko, who on the day of his appointment made fun of people with legal expertise.
Тим, хто розказує про освіту і необхідність юридичної освіти на посаді генпрокурора, хочу нагадати. Дорога моя Юлія Володимирівна, нас з вами посадили професіонали з юридичною освітою.
So now you know Prosecutor Lutsenko better, whom Joe Biden helped to establish after several months of blackmail to get Shokin fired. To wrap up, we therefore asked several witnesses for their opinions on Yuri Lutsenko. Let's start with journalist and writer Pierre Laurent, specializing in Ukraine, author of A History of this Country, which has been praised by critics.
Que pensez-vous de Yuri Lutsenko?
Yuri Lutsenko, je pense que comme procureur général, il n'est vraiment pas à sa place, parce que c'est quelqu'un qui visiblement a eu suffisamment de problèmes avec la justice pour qu'il soit exclu d'office de ce genre de poste. S'il est devenu procureur général, c'était parce que c'était celui sur lequel certainement on avait le plus de moyens de pression, ce qui n'était pas le cas de Shokin.
Donc pour vous, quel est le pire des deux procureurs entre Lutsenko et Shokin?
Indiscutablement, c'est Lutsenko.
Let's continue with Daria Kaleniuk, director of the Anti-Corruption Action Center in Ukraine, who has found the right words to talk about Lutsenko.
What do you think of Mr. Lutsenko?
Yuri Lutsenko is a crook, and there are many reasons for that. He was abusing his office for his personal interests. Yuri Lutsenko is a big shame for Ukraine. He was appointed as a prosecutor general without even having law degree, and he treated his agency as his personal PR service. He treated prosecutor general office as his personal political platform. We didn't like that. We criticized him heavily. He was intimidating reformers. He was undermining the anti-corruption reforms in Ukraine, and he was dumping a lot of important criminal investigations. Sometimes he was even closing important investigations. And I believe that he abused his office also for his self-enrichment. So therefore, I think that Yuri Lutsenko is a crook.
Let's continue with David Sakvarelidze, former Deputy Prosecutor General of Ukraine for the period 2015-2016.
What is your opinion on Mr. Lutsenko?
Lutsenko is a crook. He's a political crook. He's an individual who does not have any moral values or principles. He worked in a couple of political teams, and he used to jump from the one to another. He betrayed a lot of political leaders in this country, and this is a well-known fact. And the most disappointing and sad thing is that he betrayed two Maidans in Ukraine already, being in the leadership of Maidan and betraying it because 2 times he became the part of the corrupted system against which the Maidan actually was. So this is not a person who has any moral right or a background or a trust in this country that he can actually talk about any sort of corruption or any sort of justice. This is not the one who should talk about this.
Do you think he's a corrupted person?
I'm sure 100% that he's a corrupted person.
For you, which is the worst prosecutor?
I think worst is Lutsenko.
Let's finish with Oleg Bazaluk, who is a professor of political philosophy at the universities of Kiev and Maoming in China, a political analyst and writer specialized in the corruption in his country.
если американцы настояли, чтобы убрать Шокина, лишь бы кто-то другой, который бы не занимался расследованием бурштину вот этой фирмы. И Порошенко предложил кандидатуру Луценко. И она устроила на тот момент американцев, потому что Луценко был круг, да, мошенник, и им легко управлять было. И поэтому он стал, и он не мешал Порошенко и его окружению. И те воровали, он воровал, а никого не садил. Вот и все. Луценко не подходил даже для должности прокурора, у него не было образования. Для того, чтобы Луценко стал прокурором, Порошенко заплатил.
Et pour vous, le procureur Shokin enquêtait normalement sur Burisma?
Да. Да.
Pourquoi Yuri Lutsenko a-t-il passé plusieurs années en prison?
Чтобы вы понимали, вся карьера Луценко, она строилась на предательстве. Поэтому Луценко за это, он действительно коррупционер, и на момент его ареста там его состояние тоже оценивалось там больше, чем 10-20 миллионов долларов. Вот против него уже возбуждено 2 уголовных дела у нас в Украине, потому что действительно они очень сейчас богаты, они тоже очень много украли за время правления. И поэтому я не удивлюсь, если его снова посадят. Поэтому это характеристика Луценко. Он вор, он коррупционер, и он предатель. Его не любят. И в Украине его не любят, и в среде, потому что я много общаюсь с политиками. Его никто не любит, но он обладает большим компроматом на людей. И поэтому его как бы терпят.
То есть он еще этими компроматами он держит хорошую власть?
Конечно, он же даже с американцами.
Donc, monsieur Lutsenko était pire que monsieur Shokin.
Шокин был профессионалом. Шокин всю жизнь провел в прокуратуре. Он карьеру сделал в прокуратуре. А Луценко, у него нет юридического образования. Это просто было политическое назначение. Луценко вообще не понимал ничего в прокуратуре.
Est-ce qu'il pense que Yuri Lutsenko était un escroc, oui ou non?
Да, я могу сказать, что Луценко вор.
All these analyses are therefore overwhelming for Lutsenko. Finally, it should be noted that this was also made clear during the hearings at the Congress.
What was the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine's view of Prosecutor General Lutsenko?
He was using his office to insulate and protect political allies while presumably enriching himself.
Is another way to describe that corrupt?
Yes.
Thus, our investigation and its many powerful testimonies prove that Joe Biden lied brazenly and therefore misled many people about Lutsenko's qualities when he said this.
And they put in place someone who was solid.
Thanks for watching this video to the end. I hope you got interested in it and learned a lot about Ukrainegate. In the next video, we will look back at how the press has handled this whole affair, whether it's been about mistakes, lies, or breaches of journalist ethics. We will explain in more detail the development of Ukrainegate, and you will better understand its general framework. Our investigation all began in the spring of 2019. It is a result of many months of work, but also of several years of rigorous analysis of the situation in Ukraine. All our work has been done completely independently. We are only supported by our readers. No advertising, no subsidies, no shareholders. If you are interested in our content and would like to allow us to continue our investigative work on Ukrainegate, then please do not hesitate to support us. The easiest way is, of course, to subscribe to our Twitter and Facebook accounts, on which we will publish in both French and English on this topic. But you can also support us by making a donation to our association. All you have to do is access this address. All your donations will be used to continue our investigations and will allow us to pay our investigators and technicians. So a big thank you in advance to all those who will help us to continue this work. We really need you. If you wish to contact us or if you have specific skills, here is our email address. In particular, we are looking for lawyers, auditors, and investigators to help us analyze the nebula of companies created by Zlochevsky to conceal his activities in tax havens. Finally, if you would like to send us information or testimonies related to Ukrainegate, please use this other email address. Thanks again and see you soon for our next video.